Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday morning, and the country, at least the central and eastern portion of the country, are under a northwest and northerly flow, which in the late part of May does mean you can get severe thunderstorms, even though there is stable air kind of filtering in behind these weather systems. You can clearly see an upper level system here. And also evidence of that northwest flow with these little thunderstorms that are developing in this area here. We heard the rumble of thunder in Springfield here several times last night. And and actually, this is the pocket that is really the activity for the next week, just about. That's about where it's going to hang out. We'll show you here in a minute. This is the simulated radar according to the high resolution model. It shows that at the surface we have a series of low pressure centers in the northeast. One's occluding back over the Great Lakes, and the other one is forming, which is very unusual there. Just off the coast of Massachusetts, a little micro low there. That's kind of fascinating. Meanwhile, here in the Central Plains, again, we have these convective areas that will form out here and want to drift east-southeast with time. So you'll see a lot of those pop up over the next couple of days here. This is a simulation that lasts 42 hours, so it covers roughly the next 2 days. So it's Thursday and Friday that we're looking at here. You can see thunderstorm clusters there in North Texas developing. So how does that all pan out with the outlooks? Well, this is the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for today, Thursday. There's a level 2 out of 5 right along the Red River between Oklahoma and Texas, and also including the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and then that one area covering a little more ground on the edge, the so-called avocado forecast. And there we go, hit the wrong button. Anyway, and also a little bit of activity is possible along the high plains there in just off to the east of Denver, and perhaps down there around Miami, up to around Daytona. A level 1 in there in Florida. The tornado risk is pretty minimal in most areas except, once again, around the Dallas area, Wichita Falls. There is a 2% chance of a tornado forming in that environment. The overall wind field is not impressive, but with tornadoes, a low-level wind field is what you're really looking for, and that's why the tornado forecasts are only made for a couple of days out, really, because that kind of detail is generally not known with any kind of precision. And so when I present it here, it'll usually be day 1, which is today, or day 2, and that'll probably be the extent of it. Now, if you look at the SIPS model that we like to look at, that has a broad area of severe weather that matches the SPC's forecast for today pretty well. Out of CSU, Colorado State, they have a 4-panel presentation. The tornado one is here, so it's empty. Then there's a hail and a wind threat almost coinciding with each other there around the Red River Valley for today. For Friday, we see a shift a little bit north as a more favorable low-level moisture and winds start to develop across the plains. So our level 2 there is in pretty rural areas of Nebraska and Kansas, but along I-70 there and almost up to the panhandle of Nebraska, a level 2, and then a pretty broad brush area of level 1, which does extend pretty far to the east. So Missouri and Arkansas are now in the game here. If you look at the SIPS model, it's not quite in agreement with the eastward extent of that forecast. Again, there's no tornado threat really in that. It's not saying you can't get an isolated tornado or that it might not change when we get to tomorrow morning. There might be some subtle feature that shows up. But generally speaking, this is a hail and wind sort of situation. CSU model, pretty much in agreement. There is a kind of a broad brush tornado with 2% forecast area that goes as far east as northwest Arkansas, but really kind of encompasses that area of the slight and enhanced risk. Not enhanced, I forgot what that's called, marginal. There we go. They have names for them. Anyway, a pretty well agreement. There is a little bit of a hail risk that extends into Missouri and Arkansas, which is really why I think that the SPC put that out for that area. And then on Saturday comes the Memorial Day weekend. Keep in mind that there's some pretty wet weather coming for this region here. I outlined that yesterday in my weather to watch video if you want to take a look at that, but there may be 4 to 7 inches of rain that falls in southern Missouri and northwest Arkansas over the weekend, so just keep that in mind. That's severe in a different kind of way, but this is severe thunderstorms we talk about in this video. So we have a level 2 there, Oklahoma City, a pretty traditional sort of outbreak area for this time of year, and we'll be watching that very carefully. And it's a pretty long area of hail and wind damage that is possible from Denver all the way to Birmingham, Alabama. If you take a look now at SIPs, pretty good agreement there with the maximums in here and a little bit of a maximum in West Texas, which we'll see if that pans out. And then CSU, interestingly, has a tornado threat for Saturday that does extend into northern Arkansas, southwest Missouri, and the border areas of Kansas and Oklahoma. So that's something to be watched very carefully. Large hail is bullseyed right around Enid, Oklahoma, and also a wind threat in that same area. So that's something to watch if a lot of my viewers are in southwest Missouri, so far anyway. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that Saturday forecast here pretty carefully. Moving ahead to Sunday, the SPC has pulled they do a special forecast for days 4 through 8. They kind of simplify it a little bit and make it either a 15 or a 30% chance of any type of severe weather within 25 miles. So south of Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, kind of the epicenter of that forecast for Sunday. Generally, severe thunderstorms, according to the SIPs analog comparisons, what this is, by the way, that goes much further north. I always watch that because I think a lot of times that's so. In other words, this is coinciding with the forecast I just showed you from the SPC. This tells you where it might go in the future. So just be wary of that. And that's all going to be a function of how much the front and the instability move back to the north and northeast. And on Sunday, again, CSU, so they're very good about this. They'll show the SPC forecast, which is right there, and you can see that they're much more extensive, but that the SPC matches their bullseye of general severe weather at 30%. So this is exactly what their forecast is. And keep in mind, when the SPC issues the forecast, their threshold is right here, that pink color. And so it just means it's a matter of how widespread the severe weather is expected to be. So just, again, keep an eye on areas surrounding that SPC forecast for later updates. But that's day 4 is what they would say. Today, Friday, Saturday, and then finally Sunday. So again, there's plenty of room for adjustment on that. Then we get into next week, and the severe weather threat generally sinks south in Dixie and in Texas and maybe the high plains of Colorado. You can see that. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Generally speaking, the threat does kind of diminish a little bit, at least in coverage through those days. And then we'll finally take a look at NIU's supercell finder, if you want to call it that. This is the 22nd through the 28th, a maximum in Oklahoma and the Red River Valley. That's pretty much been verified by the forecast we just showed you. 29th through early June almost now. It's really the main threat's sunk way into South Texas, but just kind of a sprinkling of a low probability all over the Great Plains. That tells me that unstable air is there, but that the jet stream is probably not showing up. And then June 5th through the 11th, it's week 3, getting deep into summer all of a sudden here. Again, that supercell threat kind of rears in Texas and in Oklahoma. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.